RFK Jr. cancels 500 million mRNA vaccine funding. What's next for COVID flu protection? A seismic shift is shaking the foundations of U.S. public health as Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pulls the plug on $500 million in funding for cutting-edge mRNA vaccine research. This bold move, announced by the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, will halt 22 high-profile projects led by pharmaceutical giants like Pfizer and Moderna, including vaccines targeting bird flu and other respiratory viruses. But here's where the debate gets thorny. Kennedy, a longtime vaccine skeptic, claims mRNA technology is more harmful than helpful for these diseases. Critics, however, argue this decision risks undoing years of progress in pandemic preparedness. Let's break this down. The HHS has announced a dramatic decision to withdraw $500 million in financial support for mRNA vaccine development. This funding was earmarked for projects aimed at combating viruses like influenza and SARS-CoV-2. The 22 affected initiatives, spearheaded by major drug makers, were designed to create next-generation vaccines that could adapt to viral mutations. Kennedy's rationale? He insists the data shows these vaccines are ineffective against upper respiratory infections and may even encourage dangerous mutations. But hold on, experts like Dr. Paul Offit, a renowned vaccine scientist, counter that viruses evolve naturally. Regardless of vaccines, the flu mutates every year, with or without a shot, he explains. mRNA vaccines are a game changer because they can be rapidly updated to match new strains. And this is the part most people miss. The controversy isn't just about science, it's about strategy. Kennedy's team claims they're redirecting funds to safer, broader vaccine platforms that remain effective as viruses evolve. But critics like Peter Lurie, a former FDA official, warn this is a dangerous gamble. This is the U.S. turning its back on one of the most promising tools to fight the next pandemic, he told the BBC. The stakes are high. mRNA vaccines were instrumental in curbing the spread of COVID-19, saving millions of lives and slashing hospitalizations. Their rapid development cycle, unlike traditional vaccines that take years, allowed scientists to respond to the pandemic in record time. So, how do mRNA vaccines actually work? Unlike traditional vaccines that use weakened or inactivated viruses, mRNA vaccines work by instructing cells to produce a protein that triggers an immune response. Moderna and Pfizer's vaccines were rigorously tested in thousands of people, proving both safe and effective. Yet Kennedy's team argues these vaccines are ineffective and risky, a stance that has sparked outrage in the medical community. Dr. Offit, who co-developed the rotavirus vaccine, warns this funding cut could leave the U.S. more vulnerable to future outbreaks. If we abandon mRNA technology now, we're throwing away a shield we've just built, he says. The fallout from this decision extends beyond science. Since taking office, Kennedy has reshaped the HHS by firing all 17 members of the Immunization Advisory Committee and replacing them with individuals who question vaccine safety. He's also removed the COVID-19 vaccine from recommended schedules for children and pregnant women. These moves have ignited fierce debates about the role of science in public health policy. Here's the catch. While Kennedy's team claims they're prioritizing transparent clinical data, critics argue this is a political power play. Are we sidelining proven science to appease anti-vaccine sentiment? Asks one public health expert. Or is this a necessary shift towards safer alternatives? The answer isn't clear-cut. As the world grapples with emerging viruses, the U.S. now faces a critical question. Should we double down on mRNA technology or pivot to untested alternatives? We'd love to hear your take. Do you think this is a bold step towards safer vaccines or a reckless gamble with public health? Share your thoughts in the comments below. RFK Jr.'s health department halts $500 million in mRNA vaccine research. What's next? In a shocking move that has left many in the medical community stunned, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has announced that it will be terminating 22 federal contracts for mRNA-based vaccines, putting a halt to nearly $500 million in research funding. But here's where it gets really interesting. This decision was made under the leadership of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a longtime vaccine skeptic who has been making sweeping changes to reshape vaccines, food, and medicine policies. The Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, BARDA, a unit within the Department of Health and Human Services, has been instrumental in helping companies develop medical supplies to address public health threats. During the COVID-19 pandemic, BARDA provided billions of dollars in funding for vaccine development, which many credit with helping to end the pandemic and save millions of lives. However, Kennedy has long been a vocal critic of vaccine safety, and his latest move has sparked controversy among medical professionals. The Department of Health and Human Services claims that the decision to terminate the contracts was made after a comprehensive review of mRNA-related investments initiated during the COVID-19 public health emergency. But many are questioning the science behind this decision, and some are even accusing Kennedy of putting politics over public health. So, what exactly are mRNA vaccines, and why are they so important? Unlike traditional vaccines, which often use weakened or inactivated forms of the target virus or bacteria, mRNA shots deliver genetic instructions into the host cells, prompting them to produce a harmless decoy of the pathogen and train the immune system to fight the real thing. This technology has been in development for decades, but it wasn't until Donald Trump's Operation Warp Speed that mRNA vaccines were propelled from lab benches to widespread use. The pioneers of this technology, Katalin Karikó and Drew Weissman, were even awarded the 2023 Nobel Prize in Medicine for their work contributing to the unprecedented rate of vaccine development during one of the greatest threats to human health in modern times. And yet, despite this impressive track record, Kennedy claims that mRNA vaccines fail to protect effectively against upper respiratory infections like COVID and flu. But where is the scientific evidence to support this claim? The Department of Health and Human Services says that it is shifting funding towards safer, broader vaccine platforms that remain effective even as viruses mutate. But many experts are skeptical. And